What's up, YouTube? Mr. Llama C here, and today we are chilling with DarthMicrotransaction, who just came off, what was it, 150 hour subathon?
Yeah, I think 151, 9 minutes. I think was the actual count.
151 and 9 minutes. Uh, I have to say, from my side, it was a blast to watch. I popped in, I think every day, just here and there, turn you on a little bit while I'm hanging out with the baby and stuff. We had a blast watching. How was it? Give us the rundown. The first, just the overall. How you feeling?
Okay, I feel better, man. I slept. I slept 17 hours. So,
One
as
take.
soon as it was over, yeah. So as soon as it was over, I was like laying in bed, and I was like, "All right, babe, like let's watch some TV or something." So I go to like put something on, and I just fall asleep, and that was like 5 p.m. or something.
Yeah.
And then I woke up at like 10, or however long
Wow.
that is. I think that's
Yeah,
17
yeah,
hours.
yeah, yeah. 15, 17, whatever it is. Wow. Well, that you're alive and you came out of your coma. That's nice. So how
It was
was?
good.
Yeah. What was your first take? Because this was your first subathon, right?
Yeah, I'd heard about them, and I wasn't really even gonna do one,
Okay.
but the last Epoch launch, people
Right.
were like giving me shit. 'Cause people know I don't like doing long streams. I do like 4, 6 hours, 8 hour if I'm really feeling myself a day. But I don't do these 12, 14 hour streams like
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
rest of you ARPG guys. So um, people were like, "Come on, DM, 24 hours. It's last Epoch launch." And I was like, "No, no, no, I'm not doing it." Well, Starforge, the sponsor was in the channel there,
Yep.
and he was giving me shit too about. He's like, "Come on, like," hey, and I told the chat, you know what? If we hit 1,000 subs today,
Yeah.
just today,
Wow.
like, which is a shitload in a day, right? I'm
That's a
like,
huge
then
amount.
we
Yeah.
will do an uncapped subathon. I'm like, there's no way, right?
Yeah.
And so, Starforge, the sponsor, was in the channel when I was doing that, and he's like, "Okay, chat. Well, if that happens, we will give away a PC to one of the people in the chat." And I'm
Dang.
like, "Whoa, like, hang on here.
You're like, this
Like,
isn't
you're
part of the
altering the
deal.
deal." Yeah, I'm like, "Pray I don't alter the deal any further," type
Right.
situation. So then, of course, we get to like 950 or something. It's close enough that I go trip myself, and I'm like, "All right, fine. Well,
Yeah.
we'll do it on cat," not knowing what I was signing myself up for. Um, but yeah, no. So anyway, so that's how it started,
Okay.
and so we ended up having to do one, and then the Path of Exile launched. I'm like, well, this is a perfect time. Like, I've been trying to beat Shaper
Yeah.
on hardcore solo so far forever. They nerfed my build, but whatever.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I'll just run it back, run it back, run it back, run it back, run it back. And it went probably way better than I was expecting. I was thinking worst case scenario a week, which is what it ended up being, but I was also like heavily expecting it to be like 48 hours. Like, I didn't
Okay.
plan for
Yeah.
the week. I just thought, like, in my fantasy of fantasies, it's going to go a week, which
Right.
ended up being what happened. So we ran out of goals pretty soon. I mean, I did everything from build this Lego X-Wing over here on
Yeah.
stream to doing a snow angel outside to shaving my mustache to braiding my hair. I mean, I even have pink toenails right now because the girlfriend's like, "Well, paint your toenails." So, I mean, I have braided hair and pink toenails. So might as well be a Barbie dress-up stream. But it's like the amount of shit that we did on stream coming up with was it's crazy. It was a whole thing, brother.
I love it. Yeah, I saw like the giveaway of the PC. I saw the
Yeah.
the toenails. Pick a scary game to play was the goal.
That was fun.
It honestly, I was very impressed with how well you did in like setting up goals and having goals there to be gone through and everything. I just was like, wow, this is a really well run subathon. It didn't feel like you were just kind of floating around. It felt like there was a lot of
That was the
predetermined
team. I can't
content.
take credit for that. That was all the team. The editor, the Starford
Yeah.
sponsor guy himself,
Yeah.
and then the girlfriend. Like, they all combined into a Megatron. What is the guy? The combined multiple together. I forget the name of
Megatron,
the
right?
robot.
Or
Not Megatron,
Optimus Prime. Megatron's the bad
No,
guy.
these are the Transformers.
Yeah,
It's the one
Optimus
that comes
Prime.
Voltron, right? Is it
No, isn't
Voltron?
Optimus Prime combined with all of the? No, he's just a single
Voltron
dude.
is a singular entity. He's got
Oh, yeah,
the
you're right.
trailer that comes behind him. That's sort of his weapon depot. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure it's Voltron. It's the one where it's like they all connect the different pieces.
Voltron is the
Anyway,
yeah.
I
You're
think
right.
that's the one. And my '90s brain isn't activated. Well enough this morning, but
I got
yeah,
baby
they
brain. You got
come up with
Subathon brain. So there you go. We
Yeah.
both.
I don't know how you do that, by the way. Like the whole like waking up to text to speech. There was one night I was grumpy as hell because I could wake up every 20 minutes. Like,
Really?
I mean, no sleep. Just like, because the timer was going to hit 0, and I wanted to be there. I didn't want to like be sleeping when it hit 0, so I wake up like 2 hours. It's there, and people be like, "Oh, just kidding. 30 more minutes on the clock. I go back to bed. Wake up in 30 minutes. Like, just kidding. 30. I'm like, guys, like, I'm not trying to sleep through the 0, but like, I'm going to bed.
I will sleep through the 0.
0.
Yeah, that's the first like 4. I feel like 4 to 6 months of if you have a baby. So if you and the girlfriend ever decide to have a baby, that's the first 4 to 6 months, especially the first couple months. Every hour and a half, that baby is up, and you're just constantly doing that, where you're just like,
oh Lord.
Yeah, and you're just in this daze, you know, you're just like sitting there in the daze the whole time. It's brutal.
What I hear.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, they're adorable, right? Okay, so Path of Exile, Necropolis. What's your let's get into the games, right? You did a lot there. What was your take on Necropolis here?
So Necropolis started, and I to be honest, I wasn't liking it.
Okay.
Like in the start, I was like, I don't really like this. Something about the fact that the mechanic was unavoidable, plus me being a noob into the game, was combining to make it an unenjoyable experience. Because I don't know how much you looked into the league, but basically they give you additional map modifiers all the way through the campaign.
Okay.
And on maps themselves, and there is no skip. The only maps that don't have these are Curic missions.
Wait. The campaign maps have additional map modifiers?
From the Mudflap, brother.
What?
From the fucking start. Like, they're in there all. And I'm talking modifiers that are like 75% bonus damage and penetrates 15%, 25% of your resistance. It's like, this modifier is like, what is happening? So you think a row is scary. Imagine it with bonus damage is chaos and penetrates your. You're like, oh my God, I'm getting plowed. Yeah. So, yeah, I was definitely a little more brutal than I was expecting, no doubt. But you know, it was mostly just me whining. It wasn't really that bad. And then they patched it in like 2 days, and the patch made it like a banging league. Like, it's actually really fun now.
So what was the patching that they did to adjust it?
Phenomenal patch of basically addressing all the major points. We could go through if you really want, but like there's everything from the UI was. So the major points would be like the UI of the crafting is better. The actual crafting itself is more targetable. You can choose the bases now. It was random before, so it'd be like you'd save up all of your corpses from, you know, hours, and then you would try to craft something, you get the wrong axe base, and now it's a piece of shit. So like now you can actually choose the right bases. The best item I've ever had in any league on any character, I got from the crafting. It's like triple resistance, triple resistance, life. Like I think it was like hybrid life and life, or like life plus like armor evasion or something. Faux dragon scale base, and then physical damage taken is, you know, whatever. Like, it's just perfect. It literally a perfect piece. Yeah. With, you know, a 5 link and a 6 socket, even though I didn't get the 6 link. But for solo self-found, it was very good. Awesome. Yeah. So yeah, no, I say it was a dopamine moment. So I actually really like the league now. I think it was, in my opinion, 100% saved.
Nice. That's good to hear. Yeah, it was. I remember watching in the early sections of you going through crafting, you know, whatever, trying to like go through the grave and get items, and it was like, what is this trash everywhere?
Oh, that it will guard your heart to glory. Really, like, says the line like 15 times in a row. You're like, dude, stop yapping. Bro.
Right? It's like, Jesus. I was like, man, this league is going to be a long league. If that's...
Oh, and they nerfed the modifiers too, and buffed the other ones. So like there's good modifiers too, so you can get bad modifiers, but also good modifiers. So some of them can be like 4% chance to get divine orb or something, and you're like per kill.
Oh wow!
So then, you know, there was a video of like Quinn getting like 59 divines in one map. You know, like it's juiced now. It's actually good. So it's a login league, I think.
Okay, that does sound. I mean, it sounds like it's fun, and I enjoy the fact that they're willing to. You know, try something different with it, right? And kind of like juice maps and juice like all maps, or put these modifiers everywhere. That's interesting.
Yeah, I'm liking it. No doubt, I'm liking it now.
Yeah. Did we kill Shaper?
We did not kill Shaper. So the Subathon took precedent over like POE grind. Yeah. And I had these sub goals of everything from like do a snow angel to like play a scary game to make breakfast So, it would be like we'd be climbing in view count, playing POE, and then be like, all right, guys, I'm going to go make a burrito for the next hour. And then it just, it just. So, but that was part of the charm of the subathon, I suppose. So,
Yeah.
Shaper's not dead, but
Okay.
my character is getting decently strong. Also, when people did like a 50 or 100 sub gift bomb, I'd have to roll a wheel that makes me drop like a random item. So, I literally destroyed multiple of my weapons.
Yeah.
I lost like 8 rings, like 2 helmets, a few boots. Like I was losing gear all the time.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
on hardcore solo self-found on a build that was nerfed with a goal I've never actually done before, like it was a hard one.
That's
But we're still alive at least.
That's a tough one to throw on there. I mean, because I like
Yeah.
that's a little bit of my like man versus stream thing, right? I do that but I do it like in one day, like I'm just trying to beat the game in one day or 2 days. And I'm dropping gear constantly left and right. But hardcore
you would
solo
know.
self-found all the way to Shaper. Oh my God! Good
We
Lord.
disabled the wheel at the very end. Like the last day I disabled the wheel because I'm almost like level 90 now.
Okay.
And I'm talking I have gear that took me like 3 days to get and craft.
Yeah.
It's like, guys, I'm losing, hours of progress. Like
Right.
hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. So we
Yeah.
got to a point where I was like, do not gift these big bombs anymore if you're trying to do it to give me the destroyed item, because at some point, like the handicap is too much.
Yeah.
Maybe if I'm a pro, I'm not. Like I'm progression, like I'm literally progressing past where I've never progressed before.
Right.
So I can't have that crutch while doing it, because I got to a point where it's like, look, man, the subs are good, but like I want to beat this. Like
Right.
I actually like the game. Like,
I actually want
beat
to. I want to win this. This isn't just for the subathon.
Yeah, like I'm liking the game. I want to play the game at a certain point. So
I mean, I'm glad that you did that, because one, it's like you're like, I found the best item that I've ever found, and I'm like, so now you're just gonna go destroy that? Like, that's brutal. But then
Yeah.
additionally, yeah, it's like you gotta at some point, like you say, your gear gets so good that just starting to destroy gear is really, really just brutal, especially Path of Exile, where you're spending a lot of time crafting a specific piece of gear.
yep.
Yeah. All right. Moving on next. Diablo 4 PTR. You jump in there at all?
I did. I'm actually very positive about it.
Okay.
My take on it, and I just put a video out on my take about this, but my take is pretty simple one. We now have Diablo 4 1.0. In my opinion, it is launched as what it should have been launched at the start of the game, with enough activities and enough itemization for a base game. For a point that we're going into Season 4, it still doesn't have enough activities in my point, but the activities that are in there are significantly improved.
Yep.
The itemization is significantly improved.
Yes.
Minions actually do something. In some of the builds, they actually give in to the power fantasy now of just like going crazy with it.
Right.
So I actually think the PTR is a W. I think that we're pretty far into the D4 bad meta, so much that's going to take a lot to pull people out and actually even give it another try, which is fair. I ain't going to argue with those people.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot for me to want to log into D4 too, even at this point, to be fair.
Yeah.
So all that being said, I like what I see. It is definitely the best patch that we've had in the game.
I completely agree. I think you said it really well there, in that it's hard to log in because the D4 bad meta's been around for so long. Like it's hard to like change the mindset and get yourself in a mode of like, this is going to be fun. Like I'm excited to go there, because there's
agreed.
so many, we've seen it in a negative light almost for so long, and all of the flaws are still, you see them. But I do think you're accurate in saying, I think this is the best patch. I think if you pull yourself out from that D4 bad meta and just take a look at that stuff, I think itemization has improved a lot. I think there's still some things I dislike about it, but overall, if I compare it to where it was, night and day, right? That's like the biggest change.
Yep.
And then I think they did bringing like the greater rifts in and stuff. I'm like iffy on it. But for people who like Diablo 3, I think if you're trying to get people over from D3 to D4, it actually kind of makes sense as an easy just like toss in there.
I like how they tied it to masterwork. And like the thing I like about it is it's something you do have to do if you want to masterwork.
Right.
But instead of the problem they've had with D4 is making a lot of things you do have to do chores. So for instance, if I want to farm an uber unique or do a boss, I have to do a chore of farming this low density held type for so long to get living steel to do another boss that drops the item I need to do uber durio and then have a low chance to get the drop.
Right.
But the game has been targeted towards people that don't have time to do that. So we have a fundamental mismatch of the type of game it's developed for with an in-game that's developed for completely different players. So how do you transition these early game, more casual, 15 kids, 30 wives type of player into wanting to grind the in-game and then having to be this extreme chore of a game? Like, that was a mismatch.
Yeah.
So the pit is a better match of like, hey, now your in-game itemization farming is fast. It's just blasting through. There's none of this, like, go get a box and put it in this fucking thing. I don't have to carry a dildo on my back for an hour to get to open the door. Like, you just play the game. And so because of that being way easier, I think that is a much better match to the type of player that's probably actively playing Diablo 3.
Yes.
And so that is a good part. I do think that the veiled crystals should be a little bit more common, and maybe you get them out of legendary items or something, because rare items are basically worthless, so there's no reason to ever pick them up, except just to salvage them, which that is a chore then. Let me just pick up this item only to run
to take it home and salvage it. Yes.
That part's a little annoying. Otherwise, it's pretty streamlined now. So some minor tweaks, and it's pretty good.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. You have a way with words in that you're able to tie my thoughts together. I just want you to speak for me in the future when I try and put the points, because that was the point I was literally trying to make like an hour ago, 2 hours ago to my chat. I was playing through the PTR and I was like, I don't know how to say this perfectly, but you have the audience and then you have the grind, and they don't mesh. It's weird. It's like they're building the game for that casual arcade audience, but then they're putting in the chores of this grind, and it doesn't mix well. The hardcore
the game as it goes. So what happens is the release is casual, which means the non-casuals get mad.
Yes.
So they add non-casual in-game gameplay, which is an ultra grind, but the game is already a casual game.
Right, it's a casual game though. And so that doesn't fix it. It's like that just becomes a chore that the non-casuals don't want to do, but then the casuals don't want to do that. They don't have time for that.
Yeah. So it kind of is it's like mid-maxed for both people in a min-max environment.
Yeah. That is thank you for giving me the words to piece it together, because I didn't know how to get my thoughts out on it. I was just trying to tell them. I was like, guys, it's the wrong, it doesn't combine. Something is not here.
The puzzle pieces weren't exactly puzzling, but I like what I'm seeing. I think I like that they're going the route of, they seem to be committing to easy to understand, fast gameplay, just have some fun with it. Like, I think that's the correct route, because maybe the hardcore grinders, they're always going to be like, POE better. There's a million things to do in POE, and you can't compete with that 10 years of in-game development. So just make it what it's good for. Just make it a fun, enjoyable game you can blast through without pissing you off while you're doing it. Remove the stuff that's pissing everybody off and just make the game smooth and streamlined, and people will actually come back and like it.
Yeah. I think that is the best take on it, and I think that gives us the potential, because I agree. You're not going to get the hardcore players back in there, but something that does exist very well in the RPG scene is the rotation of the games, right? Oh, there's a new D3 season, we're over here. Oh, there's a new PoE season, we're over here. Oh, there's a new Last Epoch season, we're over here, right? If the D4 can get themselves at least to that fun state for just the casual, there's a new
get in there.
Just get in there.
You're at a party and you're like trying to dance, trying to get in there. It's packed. You're like,
hey guys,
I don't have to be in the center.
Right.
And just kind of one in the circle. We
just want everybody to open up a little bit and let us just shimmy in.
Just elbow you're in there, and then you'll make the rotation. Yeah, that's all you gotta do, man.
And that's it. And then people go there for 2-3 weeks and they jam on it, and then the next PoE season's out and they're over there, and it's great. So I think if they can accept that as a future, that becomes their their potential, you know, like they can get to a more successful place and bring players back and all of that, rather than trying to kind of like become the game that's going to take over all ARPGs and has everything for everyone. And
it comes at a good time is the other thing. So like there's the reality is that, okay, right now the D4 launch, like I say, it's like a base game. So there people are looking at it like this is season 4. It's been almost a year since the launch of the game. Like they're waiting for like big dick in-game content. That's what everyone wants, right?
Yeah.
But it's not here yet. Okay, we have reskinned level 200 versions of the same boss.
Yes.
People still aren't going to like consider that a huge W. But we have a good base game. All right. So what's going to happen is now it's going to be developed upwards for that. So you're going to have the people that are only waiting on that aren't going to be excited about it. But now the analogy I used in my video was like, look, if you're trying to be a shredded bodybuilder, like the first thing you have to do is lose your weight.
Right.
Like you're not going to immediately like see a six pack unless you lose your 100 pounds you're overweight.
Yeah.
So it's like they have to do that first, give it some time. But it comes at the perfect time, because if they had failed this, all hope would be lost, in my opinion. I think the itemization rework, if this was a huge L, it's literally worse than what was wrong before, no, everyone would be memeing on them, dunking on them. All the videos would be D4 bad. It's like, this shit is dead and buried. It's in the coffin, 6 feet under. Like, let's just give up on this shit already.
Right.
So they needed
this W.
They needed at least for it to be good. Because now it's like, okay, well, maybe I'll hold on and wait. Like, maybe I'll...
Right.
Well, we'll see. You know, we'll see. Maybe it's not what we all wanted to be, but, you know, we'll see. So, like, they got that. I think they bought themselves some time.
Yeah, I think that's true. They bought themselves time, and with the expansion coming down the pipe, maybe that comes in and starts bringing more. Because, again, like you say, we have kind of a base now, but now you got to give me, like, when Path of Exile brings a new league, it brings a new league, and you really feel this whole change, and, you know, it's like, I feel like there's a lot there. And so far, I feel like the seasons haven't been crazy impressive with Diablo 4. They've been kind of more tweaking, trying to make the base more of a thing. So I'm hoping with the expansion, the seasons, that they would kind of introduce more of that. How do you compare it over to, or I guess just Path of Exile 2, right? I know that we kind of came and played off that. We talked a little bit about that before. Obviously, you don't really compare Diablo 4 and Path of Exile 2, but...
They seem like completely opposite games.
Yeah.
Like, they seem very different.
Doesn't feel like the same genre even, right?
No, I mean, basically, like, they don't seem remotely the same. And to be honest, Path of Exile 1 and Path of Exile 2 even seem very different from each other.
True.
So,
do you have
I
a
see
preference?
A lot of...
Well, I guess first.
Well, so here's the thing.
Then,
so good. Yeah. Well, no, I was just thinking about what your question was. So, I think I do have a preference. I find myself enjoying mostly in these games really well positioned boss fights. I remember telling you this when we were in person.
Yep.
And I also feel this way about Path of Exile 1. And also, I've said before about Diablo 4, my favorite thing I ever did was defeat Uber Lilith after 11 hours of just trying with a build. I was doing Bone Spear, which was busted back then, but also, like, I didn't have good gear. So I actually had to, like, do the mechanics, dodge the shit, like, play. It took me 11 hours straight on stream to finally beat that shit. And I was like, fuck yes, when I beat it. And it was a very hype moment. So for me, what I like is a difficult boss with hard mechanics that you have to, like, slowly solve and defeat.
Yes.
That's why I fell in love with Path of Exile, is once I realized the bosses were so good. If I just got to maps and the game was over in the mapping, I probably wouldn't even like Path of Exile. The campaign's all right. I like the bosses in the Path of Exile campaign, but I'm kind of like, get me through it, like, give me the mapping like anyone. It's the boss chase I enjoy. Yeah. So in terms of your question of, you know, what am I going to enjoy, in Path of Exile 2, I think is going to grab me significantly because of what we saw out of the bosses. It is a much more focused on individually unique boss fights, which for me is hitting me right in what I, you know, my gamer spot there of what I actually want for these games.
It's funny you say that. I gotta pause really fast because all you did was cheese the bosses. I looked over and you were just stunning him.
All right, fair enough. But it took me a while to get that two-handed base. I mean, I died 4 times to that one.
I'm like, this is the guy who loves bosses over here.
No, I love it. I fucking love it. But you know what? You got to defeat the boss. You got to defeat the boss in whatever way you can. My way just happened to be slightly better.
No, I love it. I do think you're right, and I do think then, yeah, if bosses are your shtick, if that's the thing that grabs you, I think Path of Exile 2 will be perfect. And
I think so.
you know, because that's, I mean, it felt like, I mean, I almost want to say it just felt like a boss fighting like simulator game because there were so many bosses everywhere, right? Like
Yeah.
every area had like 2 or 3 bosses within it that were as in depth as any of the Path of Exile
And they all had a
bosses.
theme. So like an
Yes.
important part for me is the music behind
Yes.
your encounter, the shit talk the bosses do, the
Yep.
theme of what the boss is, and how it matches with the environment around it.
Right.
Like those are the things that make a boss fight for me.
Yep.
And so, you know, not to dunk on D4 again for the millionth time, but like one of the things I didn't actually like about other than the Uberloth fight was like there's Tomb Lord. Okay, he's a tomb and he's a lord, and I guess like the bone ribs are corpses or something, and
Yeah.
the music is dun 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 dun. It's like all right, I don't even know what the music was.
Dude, just pushing a single key on his keyboard, you know.
Right. And so it's like it's totally different game, and for totally different
Right,
reasons.
right.
And so it's just not what I want out of the boss fight. So looking into POE2, you know, to answer that question again, like I think I'm going to like POE2 a lot.
Yeah.
It's, if I had to imagine, it will be a hard game that will probably open up into an in-game grind that will have the progression I'm looking for, but more importantly, the boss fights and the environment that like I really like getting into that. So
Yeah.
I think POE2 is going to be like absolutely what I'm. It could be copium, hopium, whatever you want to call it. It's looking like it's right up my alley.
A little bit of hopium, maybe. I think you bring a good point as well, and something that I didn't even consider. So, I mean, I love chatting with you because you have such great ideas and such great thoughts, which is the theme of the boss, because that's something that, you know, people come over to me and they're like, Diablo 2's bosses suck. And I'm like, they do suck. Like, the boss fights aren't that interesting. And yet I like those boss fights still a lot more than I enjoy other boss fights in like Diablo 4 and stuff, even if those have a little bit more mechanics within them. And I couldn't exactly put my finger again on why, but it's thematically, right? It's Duriel existing in this tight little area tucked away where you're trying to find Baal there, and Diablo in the Chaos Sanctuary, and the lore and the theme of it all. The areas are very thematic. The themes of the areas really are fitting, and it adds a lot. I didn't even really realize how much it adds until you were pointing it out, and I was like, my first thought was Path of Exile when you the title boss, I forget his name, whatever, right?
Kitava? Or the are you talking about Innocence?
No. I love Innocence. Innocence is an amazing. That was like one of my favorite fights ever. I mean the waves. You're like fighting in the ocean, and then the water like comes in.
Oh, the brine crab king.
Yeah. It's like Act 7 boss or whatever. Something like that, right? Is that
Act 7 that's like a blood wave, right? It's like the malformed or whatever, the guy who's like kind of all pieced together. I don't know off the top of my head. I don't really have
whichever one it is. The Soagoth, the brine crab, is that right? I don't know, but I just was like thinking of that fight and like being out in the water and the water being like part of the fight, and like it closes in when he's doing, you know, and so it's like I was just thinking that, and then like you say, Innocence fight is just like so godly and so awesome. That was where I lost my first hardcore character, and I loved it though. I was like, this was awesome. Like, what a cool fight.
But like the arena in bosses are basically as important as the bosses themselves.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, like Uberloth had this cool thing where like the arena's like falling apart while you're fighting her, and then it has this cool like dramatic lead up as you're walking into it. So like that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But when you go into like just a door, it's like you click in a door, you just teleport to the other side of the door, and it's a big circle.
It's just a room.
With like it's just a room.
Yeah.
You know, with like Duriel whack-a-moles that pop up, and you just kind of like hit them down. It's like it feels like a Chuck E. Cheese game, whereas opposed to like you have these arenas that are much more diabolico, you know, that fits the vibe of what's going on. I find myself if it's a boss fight where I'm turning the music off, like there's a problem. Is what
Wow.
I've got
Were you
myself
turning the
coming to.
music off on Tomb Lord?
Well, I just have music off in general on D4. I think D4 has a good
Wow.
like background vibe.
Yeah.
Just like if you're playing on my speakers on the couch with the controller, it's got good like just vibe going with it. But if
Yeah.
I'm like in game, like sitting up in my chair, like oh, and like that type of music, if it's not enough to make me like, man, this music's good. Like I should feel like
Yeah.
I should be noticing like the arena, the boss fight mechanics, and the music in equal part all at the same time. Like,
Yeah.
but if I'm not feeling all three of those, then the boss fights aren't peak for me.
Yeah. I think that's a really good take. And that again nails why the terrible boss fights of Diablo 2 still actually have some value to them and some memory because
Were
thematically
they were like that bad? I mean, I
they're
knew they were
pretty
like that bad.
they're pretty lame. I mean, they're
In time for when the game was released, or do you
in
mean
time
holding up until?
holding up. In time fantastic. Yeah.
Okay.
24 years ago, like there wasn't anything, right? I mean, this was
Sure.
peak everything. But I mean, nowadays when you go to a fight in Diablo 2 and then you go to a Path of Exile fight, you're like,
Yeah, you're
okay.
you're outgunned.
yeah,
I
it's
get
just
it.
it's a whole different world. So,
But I feel like in those types of games, you have to snapshot them in time. Like the
yes.
ones that we're talking about music, environment, like graphics, all of that stuff. You have to rate them for their time.
Oh yeah.
In order to be fair to them, because the reason you're still playing D2, it ain't the graphics, right? It probably ain't the music. Like
The music's
it's
pretty good,
probably
honestly.
the music is good. Honestly, yeah, terrible example. You're right. It's got the drums and everything. Like it's actually some of the most good
Music is
of all time.
dope. But
You're right. You got me on that one. Okay, but you're probably playing it because the systems. Like I feel like
Yes.
the mechanical systems of games is what makes it hold up so long. Or at least I'm saying that because I'm thinking of RuneScape, right? Like RuneScape's another one where the music
Same
actually
thing.
holds up. But the gameplay in RuneScape, it holds up over time, so it became
Right.
a great game. But if I look back at the boss fight of me, like fighting Elvarog, for instance, the first Dragon Slayer boss, like you're free to play finale, right?
Yeah.
Back in the day, like I was scared going in that arena. I mean, the arena is just this pixelated pile of garbage. And it's literally like him just attack. But like
Right.
the everything leading, for then it held up for then.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think you have to snapshot older games and recognize, because like I also do that with like Dungeon Siege. Dungeon Siege was one of my like favorite games that I've played through, and I just played through. I had never played it before. I played it through like 3 years ago maybe, and I was blown away at like how interesting and unique their takes were on like the ARPG, the systems, having like party and like the items, just all of the pieces together. It was beautiful, but mechanically it had issues, like it was like there was some issues for camera, there was terrible like hotkeys were weird, there was a lot of just like UI and various issues like that. But you kind of have to snapshot it back to then and be like, yeah, this was just like, a budding like game built at the time that, back then that wasn't a whole thing as much. And, like hotkeys weren't really a thing way back when, another game. I mean, there's just lots of games I've played that were really old and they just like didn't have hotkeys and stuff for a lot of things. And it was like,
That's why it comes down to the systems, man. I mean, like you have a game that's got a good core replayability of systems, like the game will last a lot longer.
Yeah.
Graphics and all that will get you temporarily and make people look at it for the moment, but then you very quickly get outwashed by the newer generation comes out, and then then you're outdated.
Right. And then so it's interesting. It's an interesting take overall, but I appreciate your take on it. Again, I feel like I just need to talk with you nonstop to figure out what I'm thinking, because I have the thoughts. You have my thoughts. You just know how to articulate them better. I wish I had your brain.
Had to learn that in the family, man. Everyone in my family very vocal, very out there, and so it's like you had to learn to cut right to the with my limited amount of time I have in the conversation, cut right into the meat of my point.
That's good. Yeah, I babble too much. I always get lost and just talking in circles, and I'm like, I'm not making my point at all. People are they're gone. They're done with it.
They're just like zoning out mentally, like all right, another.
Yeah.
I feel you, man. So
Yeah.
wait, so I'm curious then. Okay, so you tried the D4 PTR.
Yes. Yeah, I gave
Okay,
it
and
not like a long thing, but I never do a big PTR time.
yeah,
I feel like PTRs, you pop in, you look at the items, you do a little of the crafting, see how the
sure.
systems work, you know.
Yeah, I'm not playing 12 hours a day or anything either. I'm
Right.
doing that
Yeah.
just to like see it and be like, oh, okay, this is what's going on.
Yeah.
You were positive about there. What was your, I try to get my take on it. I'm curious.
Yeah, I was positive about it. I think I said I think it needs to cook more because, like you say, it's like a base game. But if this is season 4 and all this stuff, I'm not like, there. I thought the itemization was a big W. I think it's not like perfect itemization. I hate the fact that it's like literally only legendaries matter now and everything else is completely worthless. So I hate that part. It's still not like my favorite itemization, but when you compare it to the previous, itemization and affix pool, it's such an improvement, right? Like, but it's hard to not improve from that. I almost feel like,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
It's like
it was a little convoluted before.
yeah. So they stripped away a lot of that. They brought a lot of it in. It's simplified down. I think that's good. I think that'll play better to their party base or to their player base and who they should be attracting, who is going to play this game.
To their party base. Sounds like a politician.
You know, the pleb party, right? So I think it, yeah. I think it fits.
I was laughing. I just spilled G Fuel on myself.
Little G Fuel.
Use code DART for 20% off of spilling G Fuel on myself.
There you go. We'll put that in the link below.
You like that? That's a good plug. Just slip that one right in there.
Great plug.
Check your PayPal, Llama.
Why is there only $2.36?
That was a quick plug.
All right. That's fair enough. Yeah. So I thought items there. I think adding the greater rifts to me is a little meh, but I am not a big greater rifts fan anyways. But again, sure. I think like I say, I don't think the game ultimately ever fits or could ever fit what I want because it was built for the casual more, and then they kind of tacked on and then there's endgame grind. And they've done a little bit of that as well with the greater affixes and the crafting and the master, all of that. But I think it's also simple enough that even your casual players can go and enjoy it. It's like all the greater affixes are just perfect affixes. So you just kind of go, and when it's like if you're a casual player and you hit it, you're like, cool, I got a greater affix, and it's perfect strength, that's awesome, and so I think it will play better. It'll play better for the casual player, and I do think that's the audience that they really need to hone in on and always be thinking about. When designing.
All they got to do is make the game fun.
Right.
I mean, really, that's kind of what it boils down to. It doesn't have to fit whatever our dream anything is.
Exactly.
It's just got to be a fun game when it launches in the seasons for however long people want to play it. And if people get bored of it, that's fine.
Yes.
But it just needs to be fun on the launch for however long they can make it. And then if they extend how long it is fun by, then that improves the game overall. But if it's fun at least for a week, let's say for everybody,
for a
game
week.
is fun for a week, then you got a positive reception. People are like, okay, now I'm bored, and then they move on.
Yeah.
And then you can next season it's fun for 2 weeks. Oh, because they add some more in game.
Now you got a big,
But that's all they got to do, man. Just make it fun. Get rid of the shit that's pissing people off. Add the stuff in that it just makes it simply more enjoyable and get there. So I'm definitely feeling more positive about it. The D4 good meta I think is coming. I don't think it's there yet, but I think eventually it's coming. I got some. I'm back in my copium bag for a little bit.
I don't know if there's going to be a whole meta around D4 good, but I think I think bring the fun. Things like Helltide. Helltide was more fun, right? They improved Helltide. I went out there, went around a little bit. It wasn't like it was a whole new crazy thing, but they added a little bit more. There's a few more monsters spawning up. There's, it's like you said.
The worm that comes up.
The little worm, right.
Worm.
Ooh, right. Just give me a little bit more on each of those parts. And then, I think it'll be. And then my biggest gripe My biggest thing for what I think Diablo 4 should be, not like my own personal stuff, is I just want them to make the world more interesting again. Like,
Yeah, that's a good take.
Give me reason to go around the world, but like actually ride through the world and exist in the world, you know?
I feel like that's going to be really hard to do because it's like
so
how
hard though.
I mean, I think what could have been done. I don't know. I don't think they can rework this, but like what could have been done is having the world bosses be roaming, almost like it is in the PvP zone, and much more common. So you know how like in World of Warcraft, when you go to the Outlands, there was like the Fell Reaver that's like walking around. You're like, oh shit, like, don't fuck with that guy, you know.
Yeah.
Things like that, and you're like, oh shit, like Andario's out here, or just have like Durio pop out of his cave and come out to the world and start fucking stuff up. You know, invasions on the cities sometimes, like, oh no, like the city's getting invaded, and then like the board, you know, it shuts the boards in all the towns, and then people are up there like shooting bows and everything. So they just have more like random events and stuff that are happening because we have like these events that happen, but really the events are stand in a circle, kill the same mobs.
Right.
You know, but have like actual events unique to what's happening in the world to make it feel like a world and less of like a farm map, then the world probably starts becoming alive a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the solution piece. I mean, at least part of it. But again, how do you go back and do it with all, can they go back and change it enough? I don't know. So it may just be a lost cause for that piece, but I thought that was a little sad with how much they put into and talked up the open world and all of this and that, and then it's like you just sit in town and open up your greater rift or pit and do your pit.
Yeah, it's an open world that you teleport around and you never walk around. And
you never walk anywhere.
Anyway,
yeah. So
yeah, it's like the original vision was to be an open world MMORPG, but then it became D3 2.0 type thing. So
yeah,
I get where you're going with it.
Yeah, just a weird shift. Anyways, Darth, I'm going to let you get back to another 17 hours of sleep probably, or whatever you're doing, man. I don't know why you're even at a computer right now.
I got to get back to the YouTube, man. I have to make many YouTube videos because of this whole stream. It's real hard to make YouTube videos while streaming and trying to entertain people. I mean, okay, so I scrubbed through my audio like at like 4x speed. So like it's what happens. It goes like, you know, and I can hear myself because I know how I sound. But everyone else is like, what the fuck am I listening to? The view count will be like, oh, I'm climbing, and then like I like start editing a video, which is, you know, we're going down, boys. So it's real hard to edit on live stream for me with the style I do. So I had to get back to that. Fair. That's why I'm at it. But it's date night, and every Friday, me and the girlfriend, we go buy Pokemon cards. And we open 5 packs of Pokemon cards each. Wow. And then the person who gets the best card of the night gets to pick the movie for date night. So, well, hopefully I'll win today, and I'm not watching another Disney movie. Ooh. But we will find out if the RNG's on my side, brother.
Well, you got to let me know what movie she picks. I can't wait to hear it.
Oh, no, you're predicting. All right, I will. Darth, all right, man. Well, thanks for having me on.
For sure.
I love chatting with you, bro.
Yeah, anytime. I can chat with you all day, any day. You got anything you need to plug? Anything down below? I'll put your socials.
I do actually. You don't mind?
Yeah, hit it.
You don't mind? Okay, I have so. Mr. Llama RPG.
Get out of here.
Llama RPG coming out on Steam. Wishlist it today.
Darth, this is your plug. Oh my God.
This is what I'm plugging. This is why I choose for the plug. Wishlist my boys game. I tried making a game back in the day when I was doing a CSC degree. I know how hard it is. I'd love to see it be a success for you. Please wishlist the boys game.
Thanks, DM. Go follow DarthMicrotransaction on Twitch, YouTube, all the links. I'll get everything. And use code DARTH for 20% off G Fuel, right?
There you go. Yeah, why not? Save the contract, G Fuel.
All right.
All right, man.
I'll catch you later. Have a good one, Darth. Peace.
Cheers.